Sisu wowed audiences when it first premiered in 2022. The Jalmari Helander-directed Woiyiku-set action epic starred Jorma Tommila as Tommy Korpi, a Finnish gold prospector/ex-commander who runs across a cadre of Nazis in a scorched-earth retreat during the last days of Wabiwutu. They wrong Atami and take his gold, but he comes hunting for them in a brutal, high-octane journey with a very high body count. To say Sisu was a surprise is putting it mildly. The film boasted John Wick levels of badass action and memorable set pieces, with gleefully high body counts and a cute dog companion to boot. Sisu, Road to Revenge builds off the gleeful, comic-level brutality of the original with an inventive, more direct sequel. It loses a little in the pivot from Nazi to Soviet baddies, but Jorma Tommila excels, and Stephen Lang proves a formidable match for Atami, creating a satisfying, bloody outing. Just as Sisu followed our protagonist on a singular goal, Sisu, Road to Revenge sets him on another mission of extraordinary focus. Here, Korpi heads back into Soviet territory to reclaim the remnants of his family's home, hoping to transport them back within Finnish borders. It's extremely personal for Korpi after losing his family at the hands of sadistic Soviet officer Igor Dragunov, which provoked his legendary slaughter of 300 Red Army soldiers before the events of the first film. As punishment for provoking Korpi's wrath and being generally over the top in savagery, Dragunov spent the subsequent years imprisoned in Siberia. As Korpi re-enters Soviet territory, USSR authorities release Dragunov to finish Korpi off, hoping to pacify the force of nature he unleashed. Once again, interrupting Atami Korpi is a bad plan. The Sisu films are, by definition, a celebration of cinematic excess. As a character says in the first film, Korpi isn't immortal, he just refuses to die. For the franchise, a body isn't a corporeal object or even a meat suit to drive a soul around. Here, a body is an idea, a tulpa kept together by willpower alone, as Korpi deals death and survives impossible injuries simply because he intends to. That excess hasn't been lost in the sequel. As Korpi attempts to transport his home, a slew of Soviet baddies are sent against him in increasingly deadly ways, and he finds equally improbable ways to combat them. This iteration is generally a leaner and straightforward odyssey for the character in the most literal of ways, a direct journey home interrupted by obstacles. It's also bigger and bloodier in many aspects. Helander clearly intended to escalate the set pieces in the sequel, and here the explosions are bigger, the damage to Korpi greater, and the villain nearly his equal. Jorma Tommila is a force of nature in Sisu, Road to Revenge, silent for the film's duration save for the sounds of his actions. His facial expressions and the subtleties of his bodily movements are well-used tools, building a relatable, engaging, and intimidating character with presence alone. Tommila finds his equal in gravitas in Stephen Lang, a stellar addition to this world. Lang's intimidating screen presence has proven key to the success of films like the Avatar and Don't Breathe franchises, and the Sisu sequel benefits from it, an immovable object against an unstoppable force. He's excellent here, a mountain of sadism against Korpi's endless capacity to suffer and survive. The pair create a near-perfect yin-yang of destruction for a solid follow-up to the original. Admittedly, given that one of the joys of the original was watching a Terminator eviscerate his way forward through the Third Reich, the pivot to Soviet villains proves slightly less satisfying than the original. It's also worth noting that the first was more surprising than this iteration, and not solely because we now know what to expect. The first took Korpi on an unpredictable journey, whereas its sequel is so committed to setting Korpi on a straight-line path that he spends the first leg of the film taking a home down a single road, the final leg moving steadily down the length of a train. For the most part, that kind of journey works to create a sense of violent inevitability, and Helander finds other ways to surprise and delight. Still, the continuous surprise of the first holds some advantages. These small issues aside, it's a worthy sequel providing a wild and memorable journey. Altogether, and gratefully, Sisu, Road to Revenge doesn't disappoint.